Welcome to Merlo Field for the final regular season game of the campaign. Your Portland Pilots take on the San Francisco Dons. Portland a lot on the line today. While they are playing a 2-12-1 squad, they desperately want to win to get into the NCAA tournament. They're currently ranked number 29 in the RPI. Hello and welcome. I'm your broadcaster for this evening, Adam Sussman, joined by Angela Harrison to my right. Ange, a great matchup on the docket, senior night, huge expectations, and maybe the last time at Merlo Field this season. What do you expect of this matchup?
Well, I expect a lot. I mean, this is going to be an exciting game, and I think as we watch this team come out and close out their regular season, it's going to be a lot of offense, a lot of attacking, wanting to go out on Merlo on a high note.
We'll talk about it more after the national anthem here at Merlo. Welcome back to Merlo Field. We're moments away from kickoff between San Francisco and the University of Portland for the final regular season game of the campaign. Lineups are being read out, a senior-heavy lineup for the University of Portland. But first, we're going to look at the University of San Francisco and their player to watch. He's on your screen right now, number 10, Nunzo Adamabaya. The Nigerian forward is the leading goal scorer on this squad at 5 goals, the WCC Freshman of the Year in the truncated 2020 campaign. But he's got a lot of talent up front in this 4-4-2 formation.
Yeah, and when you're a team coming in, San Francisco, only scoring 13 goals for yourself on the season, this young man has 5 of those goals, so really shouldering the offensive load, looking to get things going. He's going to be the one that Portland will have to deny those passes into because he's a very creative player, will make opportunities for himself, and is the finisher to go to.
For the University of Portland, a man you cannot overlook, George Tasaris, the grad transfer on senior night, deserves his applause. He's given up less than a goal a game, 57 saves on the season, just 15 goals against a near an 800 save percentage, 6 clean sheets on the season, looking for his 7th. One of the best goalies in the country. He deserves to be on that Matt Herman watch list.
Absolutely, and I cannot tell you how rare it is for a men's college goalkeeper to have a goals against average under 1. It's a high-scoring game in the men's game. You know, you see a lot of 4-3 games, 3-1 games. It is exceedingly rare to have a goalkeeper have a goals against average that is below 1, and Tasaris has really bailed the Pilots out a ton this season, and as you said, a well-deserved mention for the Mac Herman.
Here's the Dons lineup that will look to put more than just one past him. Chris Brown's side lines up as follows. Is looking like a traditional 4-4-2. A lot of names, a pretty young squad, especially across the midfield. 3 freshmen and the first start of the season for Gabriel Brock and Sarah. He's played just 2 games in his young career so far, but was quite the player at Berkeley High School. For the University of Portland, we'll look at their lineup as follows. Pretty similar, but we mentioned it pregame. Nava, who's been on a hot streak, the leading goal scorer for his team. He subs out. Very young player, has all the games in the future he wants. But Greg Tracy, who started the last 2, comes into midfield, probably pushing Christopher Cortez out to the left.
Yeah, and you know, you can't worry with Nava on the bench. You know, Portland has 7 players who've combined for 18 goals. Nava has just 4 of those. He's the leading goal scorer. But when you think about that, you have 7 players who have scored 18 goals for you this season, that's a ton that's going in the back of the net. You have so many players that you can rely on. You know, you've got Babalai that can put the ball in the back of the net, Pereira, Hendel. Everybody has an opportunity. Everybody has a chance. And so, you know, Nava, whether he comes in off the bench or not, Portland looks to push through with their attack with these other players.
9 of the 11 in the starting lineup were honored on senior night. Here is the full list for you. It is a star-studded class for sure. Everyone in the midfield, everyone in attack, part of that talented senior class. There's a lot of names, and what a class indeed. Greg Tracy, like we said, is starting, and there's just names that have started every single game for Portland this season. George Tasaris, one of my favorites. Brian O'Hara, very respectful player, such a pro at the college level. And I want to give some applause to the University of San Francisco as well. They stood up, they applauded the entire senior ceremony for Portland as well.
And that's a strong tradition in the WCC. I've been around this conference for a long time on both the men's and the women's side, and you know there's a lot of courtesy, there's a lot of respect all around on both programs with traditional programs honoring both sets of seniors on the night.
Now we're to action. Senior night is underway. Portland will desperately want to win for the leaving class. Delenspierre gives it over to RJ Stretch. Clive's Army has shown out for the final regular season game. Portland, number 29 in the RPI, facing San Francisco, who sits at 184. To give context, there's 208 teams total ranked in the RPI. So Portland, you know, they're not going to win the conference because they are too many points off of Santa Clara, who they lost to on November 6th. But overall, you want to leave a good taste in the committee's mouth, saying you can at the very best finish second. There's quite the log jam in the WCC right now. LMU and Santa Clara are playing. If you're Portland, you want Santa Clara to win that game. But you can jump up to second, leave a taste of purple in the committee's mouth.
Yeah, Santa Clara's already won the WCC championship outright. Nobody can catch them on points, so they already do have the automatic bid for the conference. But yeah, if Portland wins tonight, then they're going to jump up and tie with St. Mary's, who won earlier today over San Diego, so they now have 13 points in the conference, and so that's what Portland's aiming for, just to get up there with St. Mary's. The only other team that would catch them would be either LMU, as you mentioned, playing Santa Clara tonight, or Pacific, who is taking on Gonzaga.
Yeah, Pacific entered the night with 11 points. If they get the full win, they will tie second place, depending on the LMU result. Bonilla up the right side, the only underclassman. A ball through to Pereira. Pereira takes a heavy touch, and a little bit too much of a touch. Gets caught up in his shin pads. I don't think he was really expecting that ball to squeak through, but Bonilla's ball manifested right into his path.
And it's not a bad first foray into the penalty area for the Pilots, just kind of probing, a good first effort going in, seeing what's there, seeing what Pereira, that's a good opportunity for him to see what he's up against defensively.
Keeper for San Francisco made out to come that diving effort. Brandon Keniston from Scottsdale, Arizona. Unlike Tasaris, he's given up 2.26 goals against average, but funnily enough, he's played 6 less games, but has faced so many more shots than Tasaris has. So as a freshman, he's definitely getting that experience.
Yeah, and San Francisco really has spread the numbers around for players in goal for them. And, now Keniston, we're seeing this. This is when you're in head coach Chris Brown's position, you're on a losing season, you're looking at what's coming up, you're really trying to look to the future and saying, okay, what can I get out of these games for my guys? What can they take away from these last few games that we can start to build on for next spring and into the next seasons coming?
San Francisco looks to build a healthy bit of possession. The last time these two teams met was April 11th down in San Francisco. It was a 0-0 draw after 110 minutes. Last time at Merlo Field, though, Portland bested the Dons. The overall series actually belongs to San Francisco as well. Portland 21, 24, and 5 all time. 13 and 8 here at Merlo. Pereira playing a one-man press, trying to get the ball away. Artiega's there. Hendel, who's capable of playing up top and out wide. Looks like he's playing out left today. Senga and Pereira make up the front two. Portland, although they cannot win the WCC, They're actually the highest ranked WCC team in the NCAA men's RPI. You look at their losses, and a lot of them are very, very respectable losses. They've played the number 1 and the number 2 teams in the country in Washington and Oregon State. Sure, they were losses. They played them well nonetheless. Picking up a 4-0 ranked win over NIU is always going to be helpful.
And Nick Carlin-Voigt's done a great job of stacking this schedule to challenge his teams and give them every opportunity to prove themselves against quality opponents. And one thing I know he's really enjoying is, Washington and Oregon State really coming up on men's soccer, providing a really strong balance of power in the Northwest so that they don't always have to travel out to California or elsewhere to get games against these highly ranked opponents.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest soccer is certainly on a high. Portland looking for their third 10-win season under Nick Carlin-Voigt. Makes sense. It would be their third tournament appearance as well if they got there this season. Stretch, able to let it go back to Tasaris. Speaking of the tournament, the women are going on right now in the NCAA, while the men, the selection show is set for Monday at 10 a.m. Pilot fans hoping and praying they see their pilots get in that one. Certainly want to win this to help your chances.
Well, it certainly won't hurt. I mean, Portland and San Francisco do have a couple common opponents this season. Sac State, both teams beat Sac State this year. Both teams played UCLA, where UP won 1-0, San Francisco lost 2-1. So, there's a lot of opportunities for Portland to keep that number 29 ranking, which should put them in a good opportunity. And again, 29 ranking in RPI, not in the United Soccer Coaches Poll, but should put them in a good position to get an at-large bid.
Also inconsequential to the play on the field right now is there's a good interception by Adamabaya. Portland received, we're ranked the number 8 recruiting class in the country this week. So as a crop of 12 exit, a talented bunch come in as well. Nick Carlin-Voigt, certainly known for his recruiting since he's come in 2016. Number 5 class in 2017, number 3 in 2018, and number 8 in this upcoming recruiting class.
And that's always a challenge. It's a new challenge for every coach, to look at this new class coming in. We've got the extension given by the NCAA due to COVID to kids, and so now this current senior class, there's 14 seniors in this class. 7 of them are true seniors, so that means there's 7 kids that could come back for a potential 5th year because of this COVID extension. So a lot of options, a lot of opportunities for players, certainly more than there's ever been. So it'll be interesting to see what some of these players decide with these players coming in.
Low cross in by Bonilla. He's going to get a second opportunity to do so. This time puts more air under it. Pereira the closest, but Keniston leaps.
It's good, strong energy there from Keniston. That's what USF needs, that leadership at the back. A lot of bravery coming out and claiming that ball. And you could see as that ball was hit, that was his all the way. There's no way he was letting Pereira get it.
Yeah, you go through San Francisco this season, they used a carousel of keepers as a back line. Does that affect you, or you kind of, you practice with his keepers every day anyway?
Well, it only affects you if the back line is consistent. And what, Chris Brown has been doing, it's been, a constant flow of players in and out of the game. Now, if it's the same 4 and they're rotating the keepers in and out, that can be a little bit hard, a little bit difficult in terms of management style from your goalkeepers at the back. But when you do have players rotated in and out of the game and in and out of the back line, it just becomes easier. As you mentioned, now they're doing it every day in training, so it starts to matter less.
Keniston has played 9 of the 15 games as a cross comes in low. Hendel is trying to reach it on the other end. Instead goes out for a corner. Portland's last couple of games here at Merlo Field have been very exciting, very positive for the Pilots. Put 4 past NIU, did the same in a 4-1 win over Gonzaga. Then had a 1-1 draw with Pacific. Stretch with a long throw-in. Winds blowing strong in North Portland, going from left to right on the pitch as Portland's attacking right to left. No coincidence that in Portland's strongest season, they really make Merlo Field a fortress. In 2019, they went 8-2-1 here. And so far this season, they're looking to go 8-3-1 if they can collect all 3 points tonight. Tracy picks up the scraps from a mistake. Senga. Back over to Tracy. Has Hendel, a little bit behind him. Let's see the move. He goes inside. Has it on his right foot still. He's taken down. Whistle comes immediately. Maybe a smidge too far for a on net set piece, and your traditional taker from this distance, Nava, is on the bench.
You know, I think that this gives a good opportunity as we watch this replay and just comes sliding in there. Yeah, that's going to be a foul. Hard to do, especially hard to get away with that one, especially when the referee is standing right there. I think, you know, Nava on the bench gives an opportunity for all these other players. Luke Hendel, certainly we know can hit this ball. We see Greg Tracy jogging over. We've got Pereira on the ball. There's so many players from Portland, as I mentioned. They are goal scorers that can put this ball away just as easily as Nava does.
Stretch runs past, so does Tracy. Lofted ball in, back post, headed back the other way. It's a save initially, second opportunity through the legs, and it's in! RJ Stretch with the goal on senior night. He's going crazy. Just how you wrote it up if you're Portland, headed back the other way. First shot was saved, second one hammered through.
And that was exactly as they practiced it. You can see that this was a set play. It's called a set piece for a reason. There's practice, practice, practice. You see the players flanking left. Pereira chips a nice little ball up there. Excuse me, that was Hendel chips a nice little ball into the back post. And you can see right here, just a nice little ball. All of those players that made that flank side run, that near side run, Pereira the first one to it. And now it's Stretch coming through with the finish. So really good play. I love that play drawn up by the Portland coaching staff. Is just you send your runner straight down the left side, play it into the right side, and head it back to the left side. So hard to keep track of. You're just going to get turned around in circles there as a defender.
Definitely a tough play for Keniston. Applaud the finish as well. There's only a couple of places he really could have put that. The far post, not an option with two players on the line. Goes near and goes low. That's RJ Stretch's first goal since 2018.
The initial play was well covered by Keniston, but it just, you know, when it bounces around like that and then you have all these bodies in front of you on that rebound, RJ Stretch did exactly what he should have done, which is just put it back into the kind of the chaos and hope for that deflection and that lack of visibility for Keniston to give him the opportunity for that ball to get in the back of the net.
Stretch from Spokane, Washington. In the pregame festivities, had his mom, his dad, and two siblings here. I'm sure it feels good to grab the goal. 12th minute of action, Portland up 1-0 early in the night. Played long by San Francisco, trying to get back in it quick. Good touch to the inside by Tracy. Goes into enemy territory and leaves it off to the right. Bonilla thinks about going up the line. Says to go inside, not the great option. Clive's Army cheering on their classmates. Hopefully it's not the last time they see him in action, but there's a chance. This would be the 16th postseason appearance for the Portland Pilots in their 44-year Division I history. Their all-time record currently sits at 478, 303, and 100. Didn't mention it on the broadcast against Pacific, but I want to throw a little party for the 100th career draw. Pereira closes down from an offensive position. San Francisco flanked by all kinds of bodies in purple, and they win a throw-in. two frontmen for Portland right now, Alejandro Pereira, Gumain Senga. Both have come on really well late in the season. Neither of them were starters early on. Senga at times wouldn't even come into the game. But after the game-winning goal against number 15 LMU, giving Portland their first ranked win of the season, he's been on fire. Scored the next game against Gonzaga as well. And Alejandro Pereira, we all remember his hat trick against San Diego. He also had the assist against LMU. And had an assist against NIU as well. San Francisco stringing together double-digit passes, going back to the defense. Buckaloo goes long into the left, switches the field to play, but Bonilla is there to defend.
It's really well read by Bonilla. He saw that long pass being teed up, got himself in good position, and put himself right underneath that ball to win it. I think he saw that that ball even before the USF player could.
Cortez goes down. Here's another look at the defensive action. Takes it right off his chest.
Yeah, he read that all the way. He knew exactly what was going to happen, and he just played for that second ball. Very smart defending there from Bonilla.
Bonilla snatched another assist against Northern Illinois. He's had games of this season where he certainly looks like the best player on the pitch for either squad.
And you know what's smart about that is that teed up this spate of possession, this run of possession that Portland's having. If he goes and tries to win that out of the air outright, he is likely giving up a throw in, deep in their defensive third, and instead he just plays for that second ball and plays possession out of it.
By the looks of it, San Francisco look to be defending in a 5-4-1. They aren't really pressing the Portland back line when they have possession. O'Hara and Delancey-Pierre have had all day. O'Hara, the true captain of this team. Capable with the ball of his feet as well. Both center backs are for Portland. Arteaga is going to play quarterback, go over the top, trying to find Pereira. Pereira looks like he got smacked in the face. He's down inside the box, no penalty. This time wide out of play. A couple of parents will have fun with that. Ref's going to stop the clock, have a word with the San Francisco defender who inadvertently kind of slapped Pereira in the face.
Yeah, no malice in it. Just it's what you do when you're going up for a 50-50 ball, and especially as a back, that's your job. You have to come up. You have to come up with that ball. There is no other option or opportunity.
Cheyenne Charlagi is the man who inadvertently had the hit. One of many San Francisco players to play over 1,000 minutes this season. Had a clean sheet against Portland this April as well in the spring season. Well, it was a regular season, just played in the spring of 2021. Here comes the Portland press. Arteaga initiating, going up the line. RJ Stretch saves a break, and they're going to reset. A couple of hometown kids on the San Francisco back line. Nathan Buckaloo from Tualatin, about 30 minutes south of here. Suburb of Portland. Has started the last 6 games. Good defender, 681 minutes. He played on the right side of central defense. And then Kevin Lowe, also from Portland, went to Park Rose High School, a little bit closer. Played for the Timbers Academy.
I knew Kevin Lowe when he was like 10. Saw him out here and I'm like, man, time sucks. That's a real bummer.
Leads the back line in minutes with 1,269. Played and started 14 games, single assist against Gonzaga. Last year in the shortened season, started all 10 games, had a goal and 2 assists.
It didn't surprise me at all to see Kevin. You can see him right there on the screen. Just number 20 right there. He was one of the captains for this team was always just a player that enjoyed the game so much and such a leader on the teams that I watched him play growing up, and you know, really rallied his team. Was a easy kid to follow, and you could see that didn't surprise me to see him as the captain here.
Ferreira had a look at net, got deflected, kept it low, but necessary white shin pads there to stop it. Portland trying to double the lead here in the 19th minute.
This is a good ball through from Hendel, and San Francisco, you just see that little touch, and that's the right clearance for them.
Chest down was a decent one. Approached the path of Hendel. Ultimately couldn't get a kick off. That looked like it hit off a shin pad as well. Will it go out of play? I think San Francisco recognizes still ultimately going to concede a corner as Charlagi sends it out.
Yeah, good effort from him to try to get off out there and prevent that ball from going out.
Going to be Hendel's turn to take the corner. Tracy's the short option, says he's going to go into the box. Headed away, it's going to fall out. Bonilla thinks about it. Cross, headed out.
Such a good ball from Hendel. He's going to be so annoyed. None of his teammates were there to finish it.
Hendel just taking it himself towards the byline, sends it a left-footed cross off the post somehow. Shot coming, Arteaga chipped.
I think that somehow was Keniston's glove right up there on the inside of the post. You saw him go down almost into the splits to get down and block that shot out.
Yeah, Hendel went on an audacious run toward the end line. Ultimately got in the cross with his left foot. And then, I'm not sure how it hit the post. Hopefully we can get a replay in a little bit. But made magic happen and nearly was two. Buckaloo. Shouts from Nick Carlin-Voigt for pressure, pressure, pressure. The two up top are going to try to do that right now. They switch the field of play. Tracy stuck his foot in between the ankles of Kevin Lowe. Ultimately, they're saying he got the back of the ankle.
Either way, he got him, so definitely a foul.
Into the 22nd minute, Portland have defended well. Haven't given up a shot on goal yet. Portland have forced 2 saves out of Keniston. Obviously the 1 goal. Adamabaya making the run. Good chip header back by Charlagi. Keeps possession for San Francisco. In attack, they look more like a 3-4-3, but they've been defending in a 5.
Yeah, what's happening is those outside backs, those 2 outside backs are releasing up high into the midfield.
Nick Kazarian, the near side outside back, number 19 from Sandy, Utah. You need a high stamina level to do that. San Francisco, though, Ange, they haven't really, once they get possession, they're not rushing it. They're still staying patient, though down 1-0. We saw Gonzaga when Portland went up in that game 2-1. They were rushing things, going quickly. San Francisco have a few long balls like this from Buckaloo, but overall, they're generally happy to just keep possession. If it's not there, they'll recycle play.
Yeah, it's just a very patient style of soccer right now. They're not really looking to take any chances, but they aren't conceding any ground either. They're doing an admirable job right now of defending through the midfield. Right now you can see they're conceding kind of this back third, and now they'll retreat into their 5-back and set themselves up again.
San Francisco trying to spoil Portland's senior night. Although 2-12-1 in the campaign, a lot of players on San Francisco, this is their last game as well. Look at someone like Shine Charlagi on the back line. Well, they're not going to have postseason soccer. Certainly want to end the campaign on a high. This is Chris Brown's first season as head coach. Came over from St. Mary's, where he was the associate head coach. This is a San Francisco team. Has had 3 coaches in the last 4 years. Keniston taking his time instructing his team. See what he conducts. All indications say he's going long. A beamer. Bonilla's got some time. Just over 20 minutes left to go in the first half. Portland haven't been dominant per se, but have had the control of the affair.
It's been a really measured game right now. There's been some really good instances of creativity. That set piece that Portland scored on, a really good opportunity to come in there. But Portland right now still, again, playing just as patient as San Francisco, not really taking any chances, not really gambling to get in there and do something creative. It's just kind of right now, we'll just see what we can do and kind of play it through. I'm not looking and seeing any good creative runs from Hendel or Pereira right now.
Bonilla tried playing a 1-2 with Tracy. It's taken away. Portland does the same back. There's a whistle behind the action. Foul on Portland. And with playing, 3 central midfielders who are usually in that 4-4-2 as the central 2, it's almost reverted to a 4-3-3 with how high up Hendel plays. And then it's Cortez, Tracy, and Artiega, the 3 in the middle. Hendel, Senga, and Pereira, the 3 up top. And Bonilla, always a helpful, almost auxiliary winger from the right. Hendel has a look, Hendel has a look over his shoulder. Takes it inside, tackled off.
And that is the design of the 4-4-2, is to get those outside midfielders like Hendel up. Now you're almost playing with 4 forwards instead of 2.
Last game against Santa Clara, Portland utilized 8 off the bench. Nick Carlin-Voigt, in terms of substitution patterns, has to be happy with the depth he's seen this season. Against NIU, a trio of players had a goal and an assist. Frankel, Cato, and Buba Fofana. It's their third 4+ goal performance of the campaign. At home, they've definitely had their shooting boots on. Mid-season, Andrew, remember we had this conversation where there was a stretch of over 350 minutes where Portland hadn't even had a goal. And then from that point, San Diego was really the igniting point where they kept scoring and scoring and scoring after that.
And you just need to have, sometimes you really do need those games that will just break the dam, so to speak, and kind of show you that you can score early, you can score often, you can score in a variety of different situations and positions, and that's exactly what Portland proved in that San Diego game. I mean, we had back scoring, we had forward scoring, we had penalties, we had free run of play goals. So really just need sometimes something like that to break the dam.
Penalty San Francisco not happy with. We'll see if Nick Carlin-Voigt, Sebastian Nava's on the sideline. We'll see who he comes in for. Portland's last game, a 3-1 loss to number 20 Santa Clara. Nava, who's coming in, scored the lone goal, and that Hendel gets just bumped away. Whistle comes a little bit late. It was Tamba Di Mattea.
Yeah, do you see Di Mattia come in just a little bit late? Very clumsy there. A little late, but very clumsy in that challenge. Not really looking in at the ball there. I think he was maybe just trying to come in and win it, but just the lateness of it and the lack of technique as he's coming in. You can see Hendel takes that touch, and yeah, Di Mattia very late coming into that challenge in that position.
Hendel got rid of the ball at the time, and he goes into a bad part of the opposition as well, right into the central frame of Hendel. Looks to be back out on his feet and okay. No card was shown. Referee had a talk with Di Matteo, though. And now Hendel and Di Matteo have a handshake. Get out.
Referee just talked to his fourth official down here. Just, I think, probably reconfirming what both of them saw, looking to see if there's any color that needs to come out of the pocket for that. And at this time, it's just a clear caution, and that's a clear warning, and that's okay. You know, he's drawn his line out there and said, okay, at this point, no more late, no more clumsy challenges. That's it.
Pierre restarts. Not sure if O'Hara or Arteaga wanted to get it. O'Hara's going to get it. Checkered purple and white racing flags in Clive's Army. One of the biggest attendances we've seen at Merlot Field so far this season for the men's side of things. Rightfully so for the last regular season game. Cortez, good pass out wide. Bonilla tiptoes the out of bounds line, keeps it from going into touch. Pass not as perfect. Bonilla making a typical Bonilla run outright. Hendel try to pick up the loose change. Tracy's there instead.
That was well read by Simeone from USF, just kind of doing the opposite of what Bonilla did to him at the other end of the field. Really just read that all the way and opted for the header to clear it out, but now the Dons back on defense.
Portland favoring the right side of attack, though the goal came out left with RJ Stretch. Was off a set piece. Nick Carlin-Voigt up on his feet, instructing. Chris Bown a little bit more reserved on his sideline. Pereira comes from the front line to grab it. Stretch being closed down.
And we're going to need to see more of that from Pereira and the other Portland players. San Francisco doing a great job, very disciplined in holding their shape. And Portland right now, if they're just trying to kind of make these longer slashing runs, they're not getting them. They're going to have some players check off into the midfield, check off between the lines and win the ball. And other players then need to start getting themselves moving around the play after that, because right now it's just too static from Portland.
Yeah, the connectivity is certainly there between the defense and the midfield, but just the network between the midfield and the forwards, a lot of white t-shirts in that area.
San Francisco fully content to have their kind of line of confrontation right here in the middle of their defensive half of the field, and Portland can sit here and pass around the back all they want. San Francisco's not coming to get it, so they have to have these players pull out, just like we saw there.
Bonilla breaks the line, sends it across. Good block. Always a good option to go Bonilla when you're stagnating a little bit on offense. Ball goes out.
And that was Sangha with the good recognition of dropping in between the lines to win that. Bonilla then overlaps, and that creates that opportunity. You need that kind of off-ball movement when somebody's checking too to disrupt the flow there. Well defended there from San Francisco.
Greg Tracy comes out for Sebastian Nava. Nava is going to go out right. Presumably Cortez is going to go into the middle with Jake Arteaga. Jisung Kim also comes into the game for San Francisco. He replaces number 26, Gabriel Bracken-Serra. Kim, his 9th game of the season, started against Stanford. Played just 8 minutes last game, though. Surely we'll get more right now. Nava, first interactions are really going. Back checks hard to grab the ball. Stretch. San Francisco a little bit more rampant on the press when Portland has it inside their own final third. The wind denies that one going too far. A lot of backspin on it as well. Kazarian, good cross in, dangerous spot, falls near the penalty spot. Bonilla's happy to let it dribble. San Francisco shouting, do not let them out. Portland decides to go long to try to do so. Mission complete for the Dons. Taken right back for Portland. Hendel trying to run the line. Now it's with Senga. Ortiz slows things down. Now we're in a similar spot to where we were a couple of minutes ago. San Francisco happy to let Portland have the ball. 13 minutes left in the half. There's one line-splitting ball that really gave Portland the opportunity to Bonilla. And again, like you were saying, Ange, Pereira dropping back there. Sure, the pass wasn't great, but good idea.
Yeah, and Portland just needs to keep being patient, finding those opportunities. As Pereira checks there, I really want to see Arteaga, want to see Nava dropping in off and off around him so that they can look to play some little bit of some quicker 1-2s and really put some defenders behind them to get themselves into the penalty area.
Portland making triangles and diamonds galore. Ball through inside the 18. Hendel has his back to net. There's a couple of step overs of the ball. Ortiz is going to keep the pressure on, sends across to the back post, trying to find Pereira. Good touchdown by Arteaga over to Stretch. Stretch going back to reset. Portland, weary of any counter opportunity by San Francisco, have not given up an odd numbers break yet, as we're in the 34th. Thanks for joining us here on the WCC or Portland CW. Either way to watch is a good one. Hendel steps on the ball, gets past a couple. Senga just a little too far back for Pereira. He recognizes it, put his hands on his head. Nava was the other runner, but he was too far behind. Possession dominated by Portland. Arteaga. The clever touch by Pereira and fights hard to stay with the ball. Portland looking to close the season on a high. Here comes another cross. Keniston, awkward. Wow.
Yeah, that's another one of those Schrosses, those ones that come in like a cross and then kind of the ball ends up swerving, does a little bit of funny things and turns into a shot. And Keniston does really well to make some adjustments mid-air and come deal with that, and unfortunately gives up the corner for San Francisco, but that was well handled by him. Here's a hugely exciting sub for the University of Portland. Brendan Cambridge, who has not played since LMU, checks into the game. Hasn't played the last 4 affairs, but when Cambridge is fit and healthy, one of the fastest players in the WCC, tremendously productive so far this season. Goal against Sac State, had the game-winning assist against Seattle, assist against San Diego. Just good to see him back from injury, get his legs under him before a hopeful playoff appearance. Yeah, and Portland will need him for, again, any potential game that they have, and if you know, the NCAA history is any indication, you know, with Oregon State and Washington being so highly ranked, Portland will be an unseeded at-large bid, and will likely have to be traveling down to Corvallis or up to Seattle to take on one of those 2 teams. Cambridge got his cleat on the ball there, taken away quickly though. Yeah, pace never, ever hurts. Looks like he's playing more so on the front line. He's used to playing out left. I think the flanks, if Nick Carlin-Voigt sticks with a 4-4-2 in the future, the flanks are pretty much set with Cambridge on one side and Nava on the other. A really exciting young duo. Nava, a freshman, Cambridge, a sophomore. Stretch takes it away, launches it up the line. Good play to stay in bounds. Good persistence there from Stretch. As we're watching that ball come in, that was Di Mattia, who came in pretty hard, and Stretch managed the interaction, managed the contact, and then, you know, got the ball up the field and allowed his team to kind of get in behind and reset. Buckaloo, what a ball out left. The Timberwolf product from Tualatin. Here's Cambridge. Gets on his horse. Stops it for a second.
Artiega thinks about a through ball to the left and says it's going to go right to Cambridge. He's going to keep it in bounds, runs over it for a second. Let's see the dribbling prowess. Good ball into Bonilla, chipped out, corner coming.
This is going to be a good battle to watch for the next 10 minutes, Cambridge and Simeon. There's not many people who can match Cambridge on pace, and Simeon has no problem doing it. And when you can equalize that, then it's going to come down to, you know, what do you got, what can you do individually, technically on the ball to unbalance your defender. And Simeon has been a very good defender, very quality technical defender, so it'll be a great thing to watch in the next 10 minutes to see how Cambridge goes in at him to unbalance him.
Low corner, Buckaloo gets rid, shot from the outside, hits off of someone. It's going to be a goal kick. I mean, Simeon does not have an easy job tonight, playing in a 3-5-2, a 5-3-2, how you like it. He's going against Cambridge and Bonilla on one side. That's about as hard of a duo as you're going to get in the WCC. Absolutely,
and he's held his own tonight and really done a fine job on both sides of the ball for the Dons.
1-0 RJ Stretch's goal. The only one so far. The Dons still looking for the first shot on target. Have not troubled George Tasaris too much. Have rarely been inside the 18 either. Two subs warming up for San Francisco. Stretch was trying to find Senga running up the left. Instead, he goes too far centrally. Lowe leaves it out left. Well done by Portland to collect. Here's our player to watch, George Tasaris. Believe it or not, he does have an assist on the season. It was the game-winning assist against Seattle U. Launched it long, hit off the noggin of Cambridge, and then into the path of Franco, who finished it. First assist for a UP goalkeeper since 2006. Really good ball to Nava. Gets the defender slipping a little bit.
Any ideas on who that UP goalkeeper was?
Ooh. If I look in the record book, I'll get it for you, but do you know? Off the top of my head, I don't.
Absolutely. Mr. Pilot, Luis Robles himself. U.S. national team player, just recently finished up. I think he's still playing at Inter Miami and had been with the Red Bulls, was a New York Red Bull, and was kind of the Iron Man of goalkeepers for MLS for a decade.
1-2 with Nava and Hendel, doesn't register. San Fran trying to go the other way, and Pierre nonchalantly collects the ball. Jack Bacuzzi and Rodrigo Bueno, two midfielders looking to check into the game. Both occasional starters, but bench options. We'll see if they start the second half. Hendel gets a shove in the back. Doesn't deter him. 40th minute, wind blowing strong towards George Tasaris, the Portland keeper. It's a log jam at the top half of the WCC standing. Santa Clara, who Portland lost to on November 6th, the lone outright winner in the battle for second place. We know St. Mary's won, so if Portland's going to win, we're going to be tied with them at the very least. Portland looking for back-to-back double-digit wins in full-fledged seasons. We're not going to count the 3-4-3 campaign in the spring. Tasaris sends it well into the sky, closer to the Portland Pilots basketball facility where they're currently having a game. Hendel checks out. Senga comes back in, as well as number 26 for Portland. Babalai comes in as well. As mentioned prior, Rodrigo Bueno and Jack Bacuzzi come into the midfield for San Francisco. Senga trying to make an impact. Cross had a lot of curve, was well placed. Thrown going to be taken quickly by Cambridge. Well, the horn stops him. Ortiz coming in for the final 3.5 minutes or so. Another man who hasn't started too many games, but is always productive off the bench. Ortiz had the game-winning goal against Gonzaga, and he made it 2-1. If you recall watching that one, the goal may have been credited to Ortiz, who had an excellent finish in the bottom left corner with his right foot. It was Buba Fofana, who had the dummy of the season, just let it run through his legs perfectly into the path of Ortiz. Stretch happy to send Rodrigo Bueno for a couple of hard cuts on the Merlo Field pitch.
Right now, Portland just kind of letting this half die out. I don't think, they're gonna take their opportunities and take their chances when they can. But right now, no real urgency to get the ball in or try to double this lead before they head into halftime.
Under 2 to go. Pretty comprehensive half for Portland. Not much for San Francisco. Still without a shot on target. Portland had the goal early, and since haven't really changed their game style, they may not be as direct, a little bit more patient, but still, all things indicate they're searching for another goal.
Yeah, but the urgency right now to get that goal just isn't happening on the field. They're really good. They're playing the possession. Everything is fine, but right now they're not really driving in at the penalty area, really trying to disrupt this San Francisco back line.
The Cambridge-Bonilla link-up doesn't work there. See if they can have more success in the second half. All outfield players for Portland. It's not unusual for them to be inside San Francisco's territory like they are right now. The 5-4-1 still persistent in defense for Portland. Most of the attacks or the line-breaking balls they're playing have been on the far side of the pitch to Bonilla and Cambridge. Portland not showing any holes in their defense. They've been strong. Looked like maybe a missed touch for a second there. Nothing Arteaga can't handle. 15 seconds left to go in the half. Bonilla had Cambridge up the line instead. Goes to Babalai. Babalay's ball laid too heavy. Keniston going to collect. 5 seconds left. That's going to do it for the first half here in North Portland. The Pilots currently lead the San Francisco Dons 1-0. There's a lot of action left to be played. San Francisco want to end their season on a high, while the University of Portland need to win to keep their postseason hopes alive. And we'll go to break in a second, but over that half, we talked a lot about at the end. Comprehensive, not going to say easy, but certainly something Nick Carlin-Voigt, not a lot to stress over.
No, I mean, this is a good scoreline going in at the half. They'll have some things to talk about. San Francisco's done really well. Very disciplined, organized defense has made it very difficult for Portland to find any of those spaces, any of those gaps to really exploit. And a good goal for the Pilots coming off a set piece, but Nick Carlin-Voigt will want to see more coming from the run of play if they're going to be looking into the NCAA tournament.
Well, if you're watching the WCC or Portland CW, want to keep watching. Portland has a big second half coming up right after this. We'll talk to you soon.
Why Portland? Why Portland? Why is this the right time for you?
It's a sleeping giant here. It's going to be a very, very special job, and it's going to be a special place where people want to come and watch it and play basketball here.
I be on the grind, only way to shine. Hey, yeah. I be on the grind, only way to shine. Way, yeah.
As soon as we step over those white lines, it's all business.
This place wants to win. There's a lot of support behind us. We just have to put in the work and go do it now.
We're the only ones in this circle right in here that believes in us. We think we can do it. We know we can do it, but it's about convincing other people that we can do it as well.
That's the kind of chip you need to have on your shoulder. You got to be willing to do whatever it takes to win, and you got to be willing to do whatever it takes for your teammates to win and then pick them up. Get behind us, get behind this team, because it's going to be something special.
We're not that same team that we were the last 3 years. We're not that team. And just, if you don't believe us, just come watch and you'll see for yourself.
Jesse Owens, American track and field athlete and 4-time gold medalist in the 1936 Olympic Games. The battles that count aren't the ones for gold medals. The struggles within yourself, the invisible, the inevitable battles inside all of us. That's where it's at.
Jackie Robinson. I'm not concerned with your liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being. I think if we go back and check our record, the Negro has proven beyond a doubt that we have been more than patient in seeking our rights as American citizens.
We aren't seeking anything which is not good for the nation as well as ourselves. In order for America to be 100% strong economically, defensively, and morally, we cannot afford the waste of having second and third class citizens.
Ethia Gibson, first African-American woman to win a Grand Slam title. Being a champion is all well and good, but you can't eat the crown.
Muhammad Ali, 3-time heavyweight champ. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth.
Bill Russell, 11 NBA championships and first black coach in North American professional sports, and first to win a championship. The most important measure of how good a game I played was how much better I'd make my teammates play.
Tommy Smith and John Carlos, champions in the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. We had to be seen because we couldn't get heard.
Hank Aaron. For more than 3 decades, he has been best known for hitting more home runs than any other baseball player in MLB history. My motto was always to keep swinging.
Whether I was in a slump, feeling badly, or having trouble off the field, the only thing to do is to keep swinging.
Florence Griffith Joyner, also known as FloJo, a track and field runner who is considered to be one of the fastest women of all time. In 1988, she set the world record in the 100-meter and 200-meter dash, which still holds today. When anyone tells me I can't do anything, I'm just not listening anymore.
Lisa Leslie was the first WNBA player to win the regular season MVP, the All-Star Game MVP, and the playoff MVP all in one regular season. It's about work ethic. Winning never gets old.
Lowe Jones, an Olympic hurdler and bobsledder with 11 All-American honors. Greatness finds us by putting obstacles in front of us. I don't look at hurdles as obstacles blocking my path, but as opportunities to overcome.
Serena Williams. You can be whatever size you are, and you can be beautiful, both inside and out.
I always believe I can beat the best, achieve the best. I always see myself in the top position. I don't like to lose at anything, yet I've grown most not from victories but setbacks. If winning is God's reward, then losing is how He teaches us.
Welcome back to Merlot Fields. Portland currently up 1-0 on San Francisco. Some lucky student just won an Apple Watch. Portland trying to win an appearance in the postseason. Will be their 16th all time. First half was pretty comprehensive for the Portland Pilots. Just the one goal courtesy of RJ Stretch off a set piece. We'll look at multiple angles of it in just a second. And you'll break it down for us. It was a set piece that was straight off the training ground. Nick Carlin-Voigt has probably written that one up from, it was his birthday, it was his child. He had it written up, he practiced on the training ground, and as a coach, there's probably nothing better than see it manifest.
Oh, sure, and I've been on teams, and including Portland teams, where you practice the set piece, and you try it, in game after game, and it doesn't come off, and this one came off exactly as written. Maybe not with the initial shot going in the back of the net, but all the players around causing chaos, allowing RJ Stretch to get in there. And here's where you're going to see all these players running down the left side. Just opens up all as that ball gets played in by Hendel. All of the San Francisco players you can see rush to the right side of our screen. Right over there, all of their heads are turned at our header. All of those players running down the left side. Now nobody knows where they're at. And now you have just an absolute influx of players. I think there's 5 Portland jerseys over on the far side of that field.
No one's marking them.
Absolutely wide open, and again, straight off the training pitch.
Yeah, they all flocked to Hendel's cross to the right. Was headed back the other way. The initial chance by Pereira, no good. And that was one of 3 shots on goal. Well, actually, you saw 2 shots on goal of the 3 total in that sequence right there. San Francisco, no shots on goal, nothing even troubling George Tasaris. These stats, pretty telling, pretty deserved based on how the first half went.
Yeah, and from what we saw throughout the different spells of the first half, with Portland playing it around the back, and it wasn't even in the back, it was at the midfield line. Their back players just working it around, trying to find those openings, trying to find those opportunities, and Portland will have to find a lot more of that, really be looking to be more dynamic off the ball, because San Francisco is playing extremely disciplined defense and really not opening up any gaps for Portland to find.
We're going to shoot out to a quick break, and when we come back, the final 45 minutes of the regular season for the Portland Pilots. Do you want me to go to you with scores? for the second half of action between the Portland Pilots and your San Francisco Dons. Portland currently up 1-0 at Merlo Field. We've been talking about the break. This game has much more significance than just 3 points in the WCC standings. We know Santa Clara has won the conference outright before the game has even happened today. But Portland 29th in the RPI right now. 26 teams receive automatic bids to the 48-team NCAA tournament. So Portland, you would say they're just inside right now. Maybe you want a goal or two right here to leave a good taste in the committee's mouth.
Yeah, certainly, and you want to prove that you can play with whoever the committee's going to match you against. You know, I mentioned in the run of player during the first half, you have Oregon State and University of Washington in this area. They're both certainly not only going to get one of those teams, Washington or Oregon State, will get the automatic bid, but both of them will be top seeds in this tournament. And you want to try to avoid, if you're Portland, you want to try to avoid having to play them in a first-round matchup. And so, you know, they'll want to put on a good showing here in the second half. You know, maybe you're going to go someplace else to play them and hopefully avoid one of those two teams in the first round.
Yeah, Portland's played those two Pac-12 powerhouses already. Oregon State won the Pac-12 outright. They were co-titles with Washington, but after the draw they had this previous weekend, the Beavers are the lone champion. They've also played the MAC champion this year, NIU. They beat them 4-0 last time at home at Merlo Field. And obviously they've played the WCC-ranked Santa Clara squad as well. We're underway for the second half. Pereira is going to go in a sprint trying to get the long ball off. A traffic jam with San Francisco. Coming on the front foot early are the Dons. Working on Hendel, tries to send in a foot there. Headed in an awkward way, and then Bonilla gets it out. We'll have to reset these lines for both squads. We'll see if it's a similar starting 11 from the first half or not.
It looks like it's mostly most of the same, but a couple players. I see Kim is still out on the pitch for the Dons.
Simeon playing a little bit higher up than he was in the first half. We know he's one of those outside backs. He's been defending well. On the offset, he was playing closer to Bonilla than he was the center mid. Clive's Army coming alive for the final time this regular season.
Clive's Army comprised mostly of the Villa Drum squad, and those guys do travel. Pretty well reputed, especially for the women's tournament games. Have been known to hop in cars and drive across the country to make it to the NCAA tournament games for the women's program. So can see them doing the same thing for the men.
Yeah, if there's nobody else in that section, they're always there, rain, shine, or snow. Portland both times under Nick Carlin-Voigt. They beat UCLA in the first tournament appearance, and they lost in the first round on Penn's in 2019. The selection show for those who want to know live if Portland's going to be in that 48-team field or not is on Monday at 10 a.m., allowing for all games this weekend to conclude and then decide. Portland put in a bid to be a host site for the NCAA tournament. So if Portland got in, it's going to be a foul by Pereira. Unfortunately so, because that was a beautiful header through, almost through on net for Senga there. As I was saying, Portland a while ago put in a bid to be a host site for the NCAA tournament. So if they get in, a good chance they're playing right here at Merlo Field, which would be absolutely exciting for everyone involved from a broadcast, player, and coach standpoint. And the fans, if you think Clive's Army is alive right now, having a home playoff game, it's about as good as an atmosphere as you can get. And if they play, you know, one of those Pacific Northwest teams, if they got out of the first round, let's say, there'd be a lot of If they're playing Washington, a lot of purple for both sides in the stands. If it was Oregon State, the same. Merlo Field, and you stress it all the time, and I've noticed it in my first year at the University of Portland calling these games. One of the best facilities and certainly the best fields in all of the West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a lot of grass fields nicer than this. So I'll be interested to see what the NCAA does, because I know that having host sites is nice, but you know, when you're Oregon State and you've earned the opportunity to host games, you are hopefully going to be playing at your home field.
Yeah, certainly a lot into account of that. Is it a formidable site? Merlo Field obviously is. Major city helps as well, but also you have to earn it, and obviously you need to put in the bid. Low cross, looked like maybe a cheeky back heel attempt. Nava slides in, catches a Don player. It's going to be a Portland throw-in. Portland had many bodies forward, although they're going to retain possession off the throw-in. Somebody's going to go back. Artiega. For Portland, you want at least one more to feel comfortable. We can have all the postseason speculation, but if you lose to a 2-12 team on the final day of the season, you're not doing yourself any favors, considering San Francisco's 184 in the RPI. Also, the Dons have not scored a goal in their last 2 games. On the road this season, they're 1-9.
Portland gonna have to be more disciplined in possession here, right? You see them give up this free kick in a pretty dangerous area, and it was a foul to stop the play, a foul to keep him from moving on. But you know, one thing that we're not seeing right now is a lot of energy in winning the ball and coming forward into the attack.
San Francisco outshot this season on average 15.8.5 per game. Talked about in the halftime stats, they're yet to register a shot, let alone a shot on goal. See if they have a chance to do so right here. They do not, unless Simeon just has an absolute strike. Not sure if it was a cross or a shot headed away. Still in a dangerous spot. Nava on the floor along with the Don player. Taken away back in the final third. Cross coming in. Is that off a hand? No. And in to the sky. Chaos ensuing on the periphery of the 18-yard box. Portland comes out unscathed. Still no shot either. Portland season started on August 27th. Didn't have a long break considering how late the 2020 campaign was. It was in spring of 2021. August 27th, they started with a 2-0 win here at Merlo Field against Air Force. Sure, they want to end the season with all 3 points and a similar result. 2-0 would be helping.
Kevin Lowe, a little no pity in the Rose City for his teammate there, getting off that quick restart for the Dons while his teammate was still on the ground, hoping to get a little bit of attention, a little bit of love, and Kevin says, no, we're moving on, my man.
Good crossfield ball by Adamabaya. Simeon. It's a loss in his feet. Sliding all around. Did he catch Bonilla in the process? He does.
Yeah.
Not too neat down there so far for San Francisco. At the very least, they've owned the opening 7-8 minutes of this half.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is really encouraging right now for Chris Brown and his team, just to have more of the ball than they did in the first half and really start to put together some opportunities to test this Portland back line in Tasaris.
Tasaris made the tournament last year with GCU. O'Hara was the second to jump. Didn't get hurt on the initial come down from Adamabaya, but I think he got him caught on the ankle afterwards when they both took a stride. Back of the calf. Chris Brown, you can maybe pick him up on the crowd mic on the sideline. Having a quick word.
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, you know, just it's a challenge that Adamabaya really went up for, but just went up for too early. And as a result, because he's up so early, he comes down on top of the Portland player, which is where the foul came.
Too much just speed to really try to control that ball. Had it been a picture-perfect cross for Senga, even at that, he was so close to the end line. Poor pass, it megs Senga. Good pressure as three pilots breathe down the defender's neck. Bonilla about 30 yards away. Looks left, looks right. San Francisco, you can tell right now, Angel, a lot more urgency when they don't have the ball.
Well, you can see at the end of the half, this is what I talked about, the danger of Portland going into the half on that very easy kind of note, is that, you know, they weren't threatening, they weren't looking to really get the ball. If they had an opportunity, they were taking it, but there wasn't a lot of urgency. And so that gives San Francisco that confidence to say at halftime, to say, hey, it's 1-0. You know, we're in this game. A goal changes this game for everybody out here, and now you can see San Francisco just has that little bit of that edge of that confidence that Portland really needs to start to kind of pick it up and put something together to see if they can you know, start to stick nails in the coffin of this game.
See if they can do it right here. Bonilla was running through the fullback and the center back. The pass wasn't registered. I used the word comfortable in the first half, and you're real uncomfortable with one kick piercing the net.
Well, we've seen it with both programs this season, the men's and the women's, how, you know, just a 1-goal lead, a 2-goal lead, something like that, just that one goal from the other team. And it's been, Portland's been on the favorable end, Portland's been on the favorable end for both programs, where, you know, one goal can just galvanize a team and really push them forward and give them new life and new energy to kind of be relentless, you know, for however the remainder of the game is, to try to get that win.
Yeah, I will say there was a stretch in early September where if Portland got the first goal, they were kind of shut down. I remember the first game I called was against University of California, San Diego. They scored the first goal, I think, inside 20 minutes. They shut it down after. Against Sacramento State, Cambridge got a penalty in the opening 10 minutes. They shut it down in the second half. I wasn't in Southern California for the UCLA game, but watching it on the WCC, they got a goal, they shut it down. So it's good to see they at least have a pulse, are alive on offense in the second half, but overall they are still a team that's going to prioritize that clean sheet. O'Hara over to Bonilla, gets shoved from behind. Whistle comes a little bit after.
Adamabaya really does come over the top of Bonilla there with that foul, and again you see Bonilla there. Adamabaya just kind of comes in the back, up on his shoulder.
He almost got stepped on too.
Yeah.
It's about a 6-inch height difference as well.
But Tobias Wangerud really for the Dons went at our center official there and thought he might have earned himself a yellow card, but he kept himself just on the edge of saying what he needed to say without drawing the caution.
No colors shown yet. Herrera, made a good play to get in the right position, but the real estate ran out when he fell. Cortez back to Pereira. Second chance lucky, we'll see. Pass not good. Adamabaya. Adamabaya now on making the run. Takes a shot, sails wide and high.
And that's just a little bit of that rush of finding yourself 1v1. It's going to be your first shot of the game. It's a pretty good open opportunity and open look. Portland's defending was about 2 to 3 yards behind the play, and just got, you know, his eyes a little bit bigger than his ability to finish there, and puts that one high.
Yeah, Pierre was in good positioning. He certainly had him for pace if he kept going. Adamabaya took a shot quickly, looking for his 6th goal of the season. Attempt Cato coming into the game. And remember, against, you know, when they were up 5-1 against San Diego, everyone was kind of having a good time. Not like Cato was really trying to get his first goal of the season, and he did against Northern Illinois. He was featured on the NCAA men's soccer page. That first goal feeling, had an excellent celebration, got a goal and an assist that game, and then was trusted with the start against Santa Clara. So he's someone who was haphazardly used in the opening portions of the season, but his pace and ability now is being recognized a little bit more after that performance against NIU.
Well, and I think what Carlin Voigt really wants out of Cato, and what really any coach wants out of, especially somebody who's going to lead their forward line, is consistency in effort, consistency in technique, and consistency in creativity for the chances that you're creating, not only for yourself but for your teammates. And I think Cato's just a freshman. He's really trying to get himself into this NCAA college system, and it's a hard thing to adapt to, and so you have to really bring players along at their pace. You can't really rush them, or you risk the opportunity of losing them.
Always brings energy off the bench. Not the most polished player yet, but we'll get there. Him and Buba Fofana on the front line both got a goal and assist. Almost had a successful takeaway in a dangerous spot there. About 2/3 of the way done here at Merlo Field. Portland trying to hang on to 3 points.
It's a good readjustment from Pierre there to come back and win that. Great clearance from him.
Here's that energy we talked about with Cato, fouled, but it's going to be in the back of the minds of these San Francisco defenders. When you don't play the full 90, you got the energy, you got the fresh legs. Nick Carlin Voigt talked about using 8 subs in a close game against Santa Clara. He is not afraid to go to the bench. Simeon threads it into a tight window. Adamabaya, audacious, almost falls right to Simeon, who would have had a left-footed crack at it. Thrown coming for San Francisco. Something to cheer about for the Don fans. Cross, way too low, straight off of Bonilla, back for is that a corner or a throw-in, Ange? I can't tell.
Looks like it's going to be a corner. The dangerous thing about a team in San Francisco's position, we've talked about them. They haven't won a game in the WCC yet. They're 2-12 on the season. For them, there is no fear of failure. They've experienced it all. And so throwing everything at this Portland team, experimenting, not being afraid to fail, because at this point, what have you got to lose? Just might as well try it. So again, a great back heel flick there. San Francisco really trying things right now and seeing the dividends from it.
Whereas Tasaris had to push one out of the way. Ultimately, he got there. And you're right, Ange. When you've been outscored 35-13 on the season, not a big difference if you lose 3-0 or 1-0. So you're going to go for it, and they certainly have in the opening 15 of the second half.
And that's ultimately a good place for Chris Brown to get these players in that headspace of not being afraid of failure, not being afraid to try something new, and really trying to find some opportunities and some new ideas and ways of doing things.
Senga. Cross stays in play, curves positively towards the Pilots. Stretch has a good pass inside to Artiega. Uses the back pass outlet. Portland make their way slowly from left to right on the pitch. It's going to be Don Ball. Good defending by Simeon. Was right on the back shoulders of Senga. Nick Carlin Voigt having some direct instructions for Cambridge. Portland haven't really sniffed a second goal. Played excellently in the opening 15-20 minutes. But since they've kind of rested on their laurels a little bit with possession. Cato has 2 to his left, takes up Nava. And Nava to Hendel. Hendel, cross off the bottom of the cleats of Buckaloo. Corner coming. Cambridge and Greg Tracy come into the game. Tracy, a starter. Cambridge came off the bench. It's highlighted earlier. Cambridge coming back from a mild injury. Cambridge is going to take Senga's spot, and then Tracy is going to take Christopher Cortez's place. Cambridge has won 2 penalties this season for Portland. A third would do wonders. Corner on the far side of the field, makes the back post, headed the other way. What a chance. Not sure if he was going for net or trying what they did on the first goal of sending it back the other way. I think he was going right for net. And if he's a half a step further ahead, he's got a better chance at striking it where he wants. Next stoppage, we'll take a look at that far post header. Here's Cambridge. He's dribbling on his left, he's going to cross it with his right. Earns a corner. Let's take a look at that previous corner.
You can see with Hendel's ball in, and as you mentioned, he comes up and it's coming back, and this is a common, I guess, coaching point for teaching players how to deal with balls like this is put it back the direction that it came from, because the goalkeeper is moving across the line in the direction that the ball's going, trying to change direction, come back the other way. That is one of the hardest saves to make, so that is a solid solid try there from the Pilots. Exactly what you want to do in that situation.
Corner, again, not successful. Did that almost too much as it goes pretty much horizontally back towards the corner flag. He was open too.
Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of picking and choosing. You start with that, and then as players get better at their technique, at heading the ball, then you teach them how to read where the goalkeepers are. Do you need to put it back to where it came from, or can you redirect it, to that near post if the goalkeeper is hesitating in the middle of the goal?
Portland still at 1. More importantly, San Francisco still at 0.
Portland, though, playing with some new life. Cambridge on the field. You've got Cato, as you mentioned, coming in just a little bit before Cambridge. And now we're seeing a little bit more energy, a little bit more pace, a little bit more, really push to try to get another goal for the Pilots.
Tracy over to Bonilla. Cambridge trying to run off Simeon. Doesn't get the ball. Buckaloo just tall enough to hit it off his noggin. If not, Hendel would have been through over on the left flank. Cato's pass back to the man who threw it in. Wasn't smooth, but he runs back to get the ball. Hendel was sandwiched by 3 Don players.
Yeah, 1v3, Hendel's got to play out there, look to play out with one touch. There's not going to be a lot for him to dribble out there. If you have 3 players drawn to you, you've got to know that there's got to be 1 or 2 nearby.
You try to keep the ball underneath his right boot as Gabriel Bracken-Serra comes back into the game. He started this contest. Di Mattia leaves. Pretty much a like-for-like sub in central midfield. Di Mattia has been a positive in midfield for San Francisco. Hasn't had a ton of time on the ball, as when San Francisco does play, they've been using the wing-back slot rather than the central midfielders. Di Mattia, originally from Sierra Leone, moved to California in high school. Speaking of wingbacks, here's Simeon out left. Gets applause for a great ball to the left. Simeon now has it on his stronger foot, shouldered off by Bonilla. Any point to the spot?
Nope.
Goal kick.
It's going to be a goal kick, and that's real close for Bonilla, and Simeon does a really good job of just taking that touch. Bonilla, excellent to get his feet in front of Simeon. Simeon, as he takes that touch around him, Bonilla just got beaten by about a half step there and has to be very careful.
Yeah, I think importantly he kept his arms down. It was obviously a physical play. Not a flop by any means from Simeon. He does go down. Now the ref does stop action. Gonna have a war with Tasaris.
think what the referee's going to take issue with is Tasaris setting the ball, backing up, and then coming back to reset the ball a few yards over. The referee is going to stop the clock and make sure that he's not wasting time and is giving him that warning and that talking to right now.
Tasaris receives a warning, no yellow. Clock resumes. 66:52, a click on. Does it fall to Cambridge? Almost. Buckaloo boots it out with the right foot. Anyone who has been initiating forward play for San Francisco, it's been Buckaloo. He's had a lot of good cross-field balls for the Dons. Wesley Franco coming into the game had a goal and an assist against NIU. He's definitely a big game player for the Pilots. Had that dramatic game-clinching victory against Seattle U. Portland was down 2-0. He ended up scoring the third and game-winning goal. Started the last two games against NIU and Santa Clara, being used now in the final 23 minutes. Hits off his chest. The freshman from Portland takes it to the end line. It hits off his chest again. Booted long by San Francisco. Pierre, instead of going out of bounds, gives it to Artiega, and it was the right play.
That's just lovely stuff from Pierre, getting underneath it, and then not just heading it to head it up and out and away. He definitely had intent and direction and passed that ball off that clearance with his head.
Frankel, a little bit too much chomping at the ankles. It's going to be a free kick. It's coming to crunch time here for San Francisco. Just over 20 minutes to go. Frankel, one of the few freshmen that's had a big impact on this season. It's going to be his 11th game of the campaign. It was a surprise start, almost out of nowhere, early in the season against UCal San Diego. Hadn't played a minute at that point, and Nick Carlin-Voigt starts him. Bonilla's clearance wasn't good. Excuse me, it was, but it was deflected, and then O'Hara takes care of business. It trickles all the way out of play, about 20 yards up from the near side corner flag. Keniston playing as if a defender. Cato going to close him down. Dangerous ball across. We talked about the wings being set with Cambridge and Nava for next season. Frankel might have a word in that, but Cambridge also able to play up top, so is Frankel. Definitely an interchanging attack as Cambridge gets jammed into.
And, you know, Carlin-Voigt will have some newcomers coming in. And, you know, as much as we want to say that these players have earned their spots, they got to earn them again next season and
absolutely.
with these new fellas coming in.
To put it lightly, the future is definitely exciting, and every coach will tell you it's a good problem to have an overflow of talent in any position group. Stretch over to Frankel, has a little bit of daylight, hands it across, hits off the back ankle. Is going to be an offside on Wesley Franco. I guess that's why he had daylight. It's going to be...
Yeah, just got a step or two ahead and gave him that advantage of space and time to get that cross off.
It's like Hendel, who was replaced by Frankel, probably rest up. Most likely will play the final 10 or 5 minutes of this game. When Portland were just stagnant in possession and being defended by a 5-4-1. Hendel's someone who is so capable of just running at a defense, not caring what's really going to go on. We saw against Gonzaga, they defended a similar set for a little bit. He just ran straight at the center backs. And
he's a guy that really does wreak havoc and sow chaos, and that's, you know, what's so important about having a player like him on your team is, you know, sometimes you just need somebody that is going to try to unbalance a team themselves. You can do it with, you know, the 2 or 3 players around the ball to pull some players out of position, but sometimes having that ability to have that chaos agent in there really does create some difficulties for the team defending.
Tasaris holds on for a little bit. and then rolls it out. It's going to be a throw-in for Simeon and San Francisco. Not a great kick. Number 17, Rodrigo Bueno, comes into the game. Bueno, this is his 16th game of the season, looking for his first point after having 2 goals and assists last season for San Francisco. Still considered a freshman in terms of athletic eligibility. Good patience by Valdivia. Franco passive in defense. Just keeps his body between the keeper and the offender. It's almost as the roles are switched, as now San Francisco is the team being defended. Portland not playing with the 5, though, still playing with the 4. Franco dropping pretty far back from the left mid position nonetheless. Portland holding shape well.
Yeah, San Francisco has more or less inverted their pyramid here, now attacking with 4, almost 5 players coming at this Portland back line. They're really going to test this Pilot defense and find that equalizer. That's going to be their goal in the next 18 minutes. That means Portland has to make the most and take more advantage of their opportunities. They can't give away fouls like this. That's just silly in this regard, because even the sportsmanship there, he's gonna get his yellow
still
card.
Gonna get his yellow.
He's still going to get his yellow card, but Portland has to make the most of their opportunities, because they really do need to ease some of this pressure and double their lead if they want to make it out of this game.
Yeah, Cato, his feet was moving too fast for his brain, lost the ball, got taken away, and then came back with a pretty rash sliding challenge. He always has a smile on his face, but that's going to be a yellow every day of the week. Ortiz getting ready to come in as well. Clock stops. San Francisco looking for their 3rd win of the season. Portland trying to get to that big number 10. A soft ball in. It's in an awkward area. Delance Pierre does well to get it rid. Wow, Cambridge, what a play. Keeps it in. Beats Simeon. Has Cato running up. See, fouled he was. Whistle a little bit late. Simeon, no one else happy with it.
Just a sublime little move by Cambridge down there on the near sideline to turn the corner and then get out of it. And Simeon, even though, he doesn't go down, there's not a ton of disruption to what happens. It's still a foul to kind of reach in there and disrupt somebody's stride like that.
Yeah, that's kind of a difference of a player who's played about 20 minutes this game versus Simeon, who's played the full 74 at this point.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to have the burners on when you haven't played too much. I'm sure Cambridge was chomping at the bit to get back out here on Merlo Field. Hasn't played in nearly a month. Last game, the 23rd of October against Loyola Marymount, a 1-0 ranked victory. Number 15 at the time.
Simeon here on this near sideline is just a terrific player and has been so good for the Dons this game. He's just a sophomore, so man, I just am gonna shudder to see what's gonna happen with him over the next couple of years. He's just gonna continue to get better.
Yeah, it's 2 Canadian sophomores going against each other. Cambridge from British Columbia, Nathan Simeon, originally from Montreal, began his career with the Montreal Impact and then accepted a scholarship with Orlando City B in USL League One. Pretty smart kid, plans to major in physics as well. Cato on a yellow, has to be safe. San Francisco bombarding forward. They've got 5 in the box. A low shot hits off the back of someone. It's going to be a corner kick for San Francisco. 15 minutes left. The Dons on the front foot.
Yeah, Portland gets caught in transition there, and Arteaga making a long run back to close that out as San Francisco did pretty aggressively get those 5 players up into attack against the 4 in the back for Portland.
Portland still with 4 attacking players out there, not changing system. May change some personnel. Near post. It's going to stay in bounce. Almost as a second corner. He sends it in. Headed out again. A kung fu kick by Greg Tracy. Trying to find Frankel. Frankel has some space ahead of him. 2 are closing down. Can he take a shot with his left foot? He's going to do it. Keniston is there. Good placement.
You saw Frankel just, I think, twice in that run as he gets his head up as he's crossing the halfway line, and then his second touch after was just looking, did he have the pace? Did he have the placement on his left foot to get that ball up and over Keniston? And man, you could see that he wanted to, but just didn't want to take the chance of losing it.
Simeon slips, smacks the grass in some frustration. Almost a really nice move by Tracy, but instead it goes out of play into touch. Sub coming for San Francisco, Jack Pacuzzi, who checked in once for a smidge in the first half, comes back in. The UNC Asheville transfer, originally from Corte de Casa, California. Clock has been stopped. We're going to take a look at the standings in the WCC. It's been a really exciting, a lot going on. These are the live stats going on right now. And you've been checking the games over and over. What do these standings tell you?
I mean, we've talked about this. Santa Clara is already the outright conference champions. St. Mary's, that's where they're going to finish. They beat San Diego today 1-0, and so just been trying to keep my eye on some of these games. It was 0-0 at half with Santa Clara and Loyola Marymount. You could see them potentially vault St. Mary's in the standings, and Pacific was up 1-0 on Gonzaga at halftime. So really Portland trying to get themselves up into that second or third position to finish out this season would be a great finish for them. And again, as we've been talking about, anything that you can do to help continue to make the case to the selection committee, in addition to your RPI and everything else, every little bit helps.
I would say the 2 games that let Portland down, you can see it clearly in the standings. They lost to St. Mary's in the first conference game of the season 1-0, and then the double overtime loss with Pacific. That Pacific game was in a weird spot where they played Gonzaga 3 days earlier, and then they had number 15 NIU 4 days later. So it was kind of sandwiched between 2 big games. Ultimately, they won the 2 sandwich games, but didn't win that one in the middle with Pacific, who this season, they've been a little bit surprising, but ultimately not the same caliber of aspirations that Portland had. Still were able to hold Portland to a 1-1 draw after 110.
Yeah, it's just been kind of an up and down, back and forth, and we've seen it with both the Pilot men and women. Some interesting back and forth results where they're going to get a tremendous result one game and then the next game drop a game that they should win. So
Artiega comes out of nowhere like a comet to block the shot. Kevin Lowe was the man who struck it, wow, off the laces of Bonilla. San Francisco, under 13 minutes, try to gain their 3rd win of the season. Ortiz was happy to tactical foul, although the San Francisco backline doesn't let him. Throw and coming. I think you have 2 slightly more, especially in Ortiz, in the 4-4-2. Don't have as attacking of outside mids as usual. Ortiz, someone who's capable and has played fullback this year, and Frankel can be more reserved out wide as well.
And Portland, very disciplined right now in how they're defending. They're just not allowing some of these opportunities. But as I mentioned, San Francisco has every ounce of creativity in, being able to just try something, just throw something at the wall and see what sticks. So Portland has to be very careful in kind of going into this prevent defense of just saying, okay, we're good 1-0, let's just see the game out these next 12 minutes, because when you start to retreat that much into what you're doing and stop playing offense, it makes it pretty easy to be exploited on defense.
have not been taking many chances. Once again, it's their own final third the last couple of minutes. They're happy just to get rid of it. Pierre trying to find Nava. Artiega, a couple of close down behind him. Tracy in an awkward situation. Can he get through the duo? Now back to Ortiz. Ortiz to Bonilla. Bonilla gets it caught up. Now a chance for San Francisco. Lets it run wide. Shot with the right foot. Just sails wide. That probably should have been a situation when you boot it away, get rid of it.
And every Don player on the field and every Don player on the sideline and every San Francisco fan in the stands thought that was their chance. That was the equalizer. It was that close for them. And right here, Bonilla takes a chance in dribbling it out of the back and not trying to just clear it up. And that's a good ball across. It goes through way too many Portland players, allowing that open chance. And yeah, just can't believe that wasn't finished for them.
That could quite literally be a foot away from your postseason hopes ending. Franco somehow gets on the end of it. Tasaris won his second assist of the campaign. Stay over the top. Who's it out off last? It's going to be a San Francisco throw, and Bonilla and O'Hara work quickly to rush to the ball. Chipped up. Keo's going to come to close down. Gets the ball. Does he keep it in bounds? No, he does not. And he's going to pick up the ball to waste a little bit of time. He's on a yellow card already, Ange. Let's take it easy, Keto.
Yeah, he's got to, again, and we've seen Portland have a couple of these players have to sit out throughout the season through, double cautions that lead to a red card, or just kind of some of these silly mistakes that are just flat unnecessary in those situations that cost Nick Carlin-Boyd a valuable player on his bench or in his starting lineup.
Under 10 minutes to go. Tasaris may have corralled it in, but it's on the other side of the end line. Corner kick coming for San Francisco. They haven't been too dangerous from their corners and set pieces so far today. It's mostly come from open play the last 30 minutes.
Portland's had a few of their opportunities just kind of flash through the penalty area with no challenge, so Portland needs to be on their toes, get this up and out.
High ball, one player's on the ground. Where the heck is it? There's going to be a whistle amongst the chaos.
And that's going to be dangerous play.
Yeah, a San Francisco player was down before the ball even came within the 18-yard box.
Yeah, when you look up that's Charlagi, who's on the ground, and that's literally the name of the foul is dangerous play. You're creating an unsafe situation for the players around you.
Yeah, last thing you want is someone to jump up for a header and land on a player. 82nd, Tasaris sends it into enemy territory. Ooh, Bonilla, so he got his leg chipped at the end. Referee initially played advance. See if Franco could have gotten there. Looks like it's going to be a yellow card coming. It is indeed.
That's Bocuzzi earning that caution.
San Francisco players weren't complaining about the yellow. They're all saying, stop the clock, stop the clock, stop the clock. Ultimately, it worked because the ref did stop the clock at 81:43. That's a foul you see a couple of times a game where you're just trying to go long and your foot cannot extend all the way through.
Yeah, and that's a classic case of I guess coming over the top of the ball and showing your studs. So that's, as we see Bonilla coming through here, and you see him just get his boot up, and you see the bottom of his shoe. When he extends and flexes his shoe like that, you can tell that that's a good thing to do if the ball's on the ground and your foot is on the ground. But as soon as you pick your foot up over the ball, that's going to be what earns you the caution.
Yeah, it looks like he smacked right into the bottom of the cleat. Might have a little bit black and blue top of the foot tomorrow morning. Here's Franco, number 8. 3 on him. San Francisco is probably going to be utilizing that strategy. 2 or 3 to the ball at minimum. If they don't score, their season ends in 7.5 minutes. Bonilla.
I was going to say that was better possession from Portland, but you can see as Bonilla got the ball and started dribbling forward, his head went down, and as soon as his head goes down, he's losing sight of the players around him, and that tells the players that they've stopped giving him options and allowing him to kind of dribble into that defense.
Ortiz was aiming for Nava, goes fortuitously to Cato. Cato running into the box. Franco's keeping it himself, finds Nava. Nava, the leading goal scorer, trying to find another, sails wide. Not a ton of pace behind the ball, but the placement was near perfect. Nava scored a goal just like that against Pacific. Maybe a little bit further outside, though.
Adam, I'm a goalkeeper by trade. I still coach. The best form of defense for me, as we can see right here, is a potent and strong offense. That desire to attack, that desire to get in. You're going to have players that are hungry for the ball, that want the ball, that want to keep the ball and create every opportunity they can to keep scoring goals. And that's what Portland has to keep doing for these next 7 minutes, is say we're not going to see this game out. We're going to go score another one, because that's what's going to keep San Francisco off the ball.
Yeah, San Francisco defenders, they just have that realization again that, hey, maybe we can't just go all out attack if Nava and company are doing stuff like this. That goes out of play for Portland, who's going to happily take their time to take it. Clock running. 6 minutes left in the affair. A lot of friends and family in attendance at Merlo Field for senior night. The seniors and grad players on this team will certainly want to end their last regular season, for many, on a high. Every time the ball goes out of play, you hear the San Francisco players saying, stop the clock, stop the clock. That stays in play well by Simeon, but this time he loses it. 3-on-5 break, call it a 3-on-4. Good step up by San Francisco. Lowe switches the field of play. San Francisco is going to take a crack at the right side now. Lowe's got a little bit of space, has Simeon to the left. Goes inside, O'Hara leaves the line. He's usually the more conservative of the center backs, but that time makes the right decision and elects to come out from the line. Takes away the ball, San Francisco still has it. No one really pressing the Pilot back line. O'Hara makes the executive decision there to go long. It actually looked like it was Odendahl. Franco over to Senga. Cato, yeah, he's way offside. Didn't even...
Portland just has to have a little bit more discipline there, Cato, to look over his shoulder. You could see he wanted to run. He knew he was offside, and, Portland there, I think we're looking at Sangha that really has to have a little bit more discipline not to play that ball, to even just look for the second runner instead of Cato wide open. Cato's offside. You've got to pull it back and pull it around.
San Francisco faithful near us in the broadcast booth, not happy with the decision that that's going to be a Portland throw-in. A lot of boots in the area. Under 4 to go. Clock still ongoing. Portland happy to bleed it out. Out again. Portland ball again. This time, ref does stop the clock. The sub coming in, Pereira, takes Cato's position. Cato brought in a little bit of energy, a lot of pace.
Yeah. And just tenacity. He was very, very good defending, closing down the San Francisco center backs, really trying to make the most of his minutes out there, and really added a lot to the Portland lineup when he was there.
DeMattei's back into the game for San Francisco as well. O'Hara, someone who always practices those headers you see at pregame when he's in the line. Advantage played. This is what Hendel does best. We talked about it this half, Ange. He can run out of defense and does it perfectly there. Draws a yellow, gets past one. Advantage is played. And that's going to bleed off some more of the clock and allow Portland catch their breath, reset, send some bodies forward.
And Charlagi in that instance has no problem coming up and making that challenge and stopping Hendel there. And Hendel, after he won the ball, a lot of the San Francisco bench, the players wanted a foul, thought it was a foul coming through on Hendel, and Charlagi will come up and put a stop to it right away.
It's honestly impressive he got through the first foul. It was wrapped up. Good touchdown just to keep possession. Don't want to concede a goal kick.
Yeah, Pereira did well there to pull that ball in and not let it go out over the end line.
Tasaris comes way out. Happy to send it all the way to the other side. Ortiz is going to run onto it.
Oh, a better touch there. Would have had his second chance.
And had a curling effort off Keniston, who's about 10 to 15 yards off his line.
And it was Franco's second chance to maybe get the keeper from about 40 or 50 yards out.
Portland playing in a back five. At least Hendel is going way to the back out left. 2.5 minutes to go. Tasaris collects. Ref warned him about time wasting a little bit earlier on. Adamabaya right there to keep him honest. He's going to roll the ball out, send it long as he usually does along this right side. Pereira has a look over his shoulder. San Francisco going right. Hendel collecting up the runner on the right side. It's Hendel and O'Neill defending and out for a corner kick. Looks like Keniston's going to come forward to at least to the halfway line. We'll see how long he goes. Chris Brown says he can stay there. It's going to be, looks like 8 in the box, 7 or 8 in the box for San Francisco. It's got to be good delivery. Last time we saw it, there was a danger of play foul.
It'll be 7 in and 2 out on top, trying to deal with any of the rebounds. So Portland here, what they need to do for clearing out, get it out high, wide, away.
Oh my God, Tasaris with the save. Second opportunity, it's bounced on all over the place. There was a huge chance amongst the crowd for San Francisco. It's going back the other way. Everyone's saying, come back, come back. Simeon, cross, goes the other side. Odenhall into the gloves of Tasaris. He elects to keep it down. It's a little scary, and then picks it up. Odenhall just sent out a wrist. Wasn't a strong shot, and San Francisco may have just squandered their last chance.
And that was a heck of a save to come up with from Tasaris, who really that was his only chance. That was his biggest moment of the game to have that impact, and that's what he's there for. Hasn't really had to do much by the way of saves. That's his first save, I believe, on the night, and it's a gem. Portland, again, as I said, as I was going through that, needed to do better on that clearance. Get it out high, get it out wide, but knocking it down, that creates that extra chance.
15 seconds left, San Francisco. This is your last chance. Dons, can they do it? No. 10 seconds left. Kick doesn't go far enough. 5. Portland is going to end the season on double-digit wins. Hopefully we'll see on Monday if they make a tournament, as there's a late, strong foul there. Benches coming out. Adamabaya was the man who had the foul there. Nothing, a little bit of a frustration, nothing too menacing after the play. Benches don't go after each other by any means. But full 90 on the clock. George Tasaris, he was our player to watch. We couldn't really have a need to watch him for 70, 75 some odd minutes. But in the final 15, he comes up huge. And hopefully we'll talk again here at Merlo Field if the Pilots do host a game in the tourney. But right now, in a standalone contest, Portland were excellent for, I would say, the opening half. Comfortable, not easy, but comprehensive. That final 20 minutes, especially the final 5, was quite nervous-some.
Yeah, they did what they needed to do, though. They came here, got the W, sent their seniors out in a good fashion. They all have a good memory to wrap up their last game as seniors here on Merlo Field. And great job from the Pilots and a great season regardless of what happens on Monday.
San Francisco ends the season 2-13-1, 0-6-1 in the WCC, while your Portland Pilots have another double-digit winning season, their first since 2019. They go 10-6-1, 4-2-1 in the WCC. Signing off for the regular season for Angela Harrison, I'm Adam Sussman. Thanks for joining us in the WCC and Portland CW.